For me, it's just losing to her. We're not the bestest of friends.
No, you're not.
No.
Do you know, it was horrible to watch. I mean, I watched over it and pored over it, quite frankly, because obviously we're all willing you to win it in terms of the Brits wanting you to win. But she was devastating at times. So how do you combat that this time? I know you said you took a risk, but what will you have to do to get the better of her this time? Is it not take the risk, or what would you do?
I feel like honestly can outbox Clarissa long. I really can. Like I said, I totally the tactics were totally going against my strengths.
Why did you do that?
I think that's one for Peter Fury.
Are you blaming Peter Fury here?
No, it's a team effort, isn't it? So I can't point the blame. But he hasn't been my favourite person over the past couple of months.
Right, OK. So obviously you need to get that back on track, no doubt. It was a landmark night, though, and I mean, as I say, you know, we'd get Fury here.
No, it's a team effort, isn't it? So I can't point the blame. But he hasn't been my favourite person over the past couple of months.
Right, OK. So obviously you need to get that back.
Yo, what's good, family? It's your man, the YB. Back once again. Big shout out to my doggy, Terrence James Scales, for coming through and scaling up the coin. No doubt about it. 100%. So, we just heard there from my doggy, Savannah Marshall. Now, all I can say is I told you so, man. That's all I can say. Now, I can't bother to go and show you, man, but you best believe I may have even mentioned it. In fact, you might know me. Before the fight, in fact, after the fight rather, I was out here bugging out on Savannah Marshall's Twitter, telling her, that fight sucked. Your strategy sucked. Peter Fury gets all this hype about how good he is, how deep he is. He choked. Big facts. This was the clutch moment of all due respect, yeah, of Peter Fury's career. Yes, you can say Fury versus Klitschko was a clutch moment, but I have to say, I don't think it had anything to do with Peter Fury. Based on how Peter Fury choked in that Savannah Marshall fight, I think Tyson Fury was the one who delivered. I don't think it had anything to do with Peter Fury. I'm sorry. Peter Fury had Savannah Marshall going in there, hunting down Shields, which is never seen that before. I've never seen a fighter apply pressure with a low guard. Who does that? Now, I understand Savannah Marshall has a slick style, but still. Savannah Marshall had no jab. She had this flap, and yes, to be in all fairness, Savannah Marshall's always had a flappy jab. But still, if you're going to be an out-and-out pressure fighter, Marshall's never been a pressure fighter like Golovkin. Against Shields, she tries to do that with her hands down. Normally, Marshall goes in there, she has a few looks, has a few slips, touch. She builds into the fight. She never comes out storming Norman from round one. She lets things build and sets things up. They chose, for whatever reason, to apply pressure, which is fine, but who applies pressure with a split guard? Who does that? I've never seen any fight in history of the game. I'm swear down, I've never seen it. Never seen a fighter wade forward like Marshall was doing. Really, it's a credit to her, I do have to say. Her cardio and her skills. Because yes, she got hit a few times, but her ability to not be hit and she was coming straight forward with her hands down, it's quite actually impressive. Anyone, especially with the hand speed, people are, oh wow, Clarissa Shields is counter-punching. All due respect, you had a 6'3" person. When was the last time you saw someone with a huge height advantage just come walking in with their hands down? Exactly. And that's what I said. For me, this fight was a draw or Marshall won. Because you had Clarissa Shields on the ropes the whole night. She was backed up there, couldn't fight. All she could... Listen, people say, oh, she was counter-punching. That's all she had left to do. She was pinned on the ropes. Yeah? Any rabbit or put any cornered animal. What do cornered animals do? They lash out. That's all you got left. You can't run nowhere else. Shields was a cornered animal. And fair play to her. She fought. She popped back. But still... Whatever she did, this was Marshall's fight. Marshall was the one setting the pace. Marshall was the one being the B-U-L-L-Y. However, if you're going to be that one pressing forward, hands have got to be up in my opinion. If you're going out of your way to press forward, hands must be up. If you're going out of your way to press forward, you've got to have something on your jab. Marshall was stepping in, slappy jab, and then getting popped, obviously, because Shields had nothing to think about. If you're going to be that pressure fighter, the fighter you're fighting has to know that not all the time, not every single jab you throw has to be a stiff one. But there was no variety in there. Every single time, Marshall approached it with a slap, slap. And Shields knew, okay, I know there's nothing stiff coming. So the minute I see a flicky, I'll punch with her. And that's what Shields did well. Shields, anytime she saw that slappy thing come out, she'd just pop. And a lot of the time it worked. Where was the pop? Where was the pop from Marshall? And she's so tall and so big. It's a travesty. That's the problem with the Fury, or Peter Fury. Peter Fury only really knows how to train one way. It's that, and yeah, I think Marshall, and that's the thing, Marshall for me, I was tweeting her saying, you can do it every way. You got the power to be a power puncher, but you've also got the slickster. The problem is, it was like you was caught in between both worlds. There's a time to be a slickster, and there's a time to be a hard hitter. If you're on the front foot, chin down, hands up, pole driving a jab coming forward, and sticking something stiff on the back end. Instead, she'd step in and just try to be slick with the head movement. It was messy. For the first time in her career, one of the key things I used to praise Marshall about was her heavy-handedness. All of a sudden, she went in there and started slapping away. Like most women to fight. Most women, the reason most women fight is, it's not just women in all fairness. People like Billy Joe, they slap as well, but women in particular, you'll see women just thrashing. A lot of women will throw like 20 punch combinations. That's how you know. People who are throwing 20 punch combinations for the most part, they're slapping. You ain't digging 20 shots. It's all that. Shields is a classic slapper. She just kind of, look, you can see it there, just winging away. There's nothing really in the shots. Just winging away, elbows are caved in, slapping, bottom line. And Marshall, really, she was just fighting to that level. Usually Marshall, and I'll give Shields credit, because Shields obviously took Marshall out of her game to some extent. But I don't know about all that. I think Peter Fury, I've got to say this, Peter Fury for me. Go and listen to Peter Fury in the corner. That's it. Keep charging forward. Don't give her no ground. That was the last thing Marshall needed to be told. Calm the F down. You are a foot taller than this woman. Let's get the jab going. To the body. Forget about the head. That's another thing. We know Marshall's Shield, is very quick. Got a lot of head movement. There was no intense, or there's no initiated body attack. If I was training Marshall, body for the first few rounds. Let's get our confidence. Let's get our shots landing to the body. Feint to the head, jab to the body. Feint, stiff jab, bang. Simple. Keep it in 2s and 3s. Simple. Feint, pop. Feint, pop. Big right hand or big right hook on the end. 2s and you do any more than 2s or 3s. You're doing too much, in my opinion. For someone like, when you've got that kind of power and that size that Marshall has, my little rule is, if you've got to do more than 3, you're doing something wrong. When you're that heavy-handed and when you're that big, if you need to be doing 5 punches, there's something not quite right there. And not to mention, against someone like Shields, you don't want to be in there getting a whole bunch of shots off, because you're looking like a whole snack. You're looking like a whole counter city. We know Shields likes to sit back and pot shot. Well, if you're doing 2s and 3s, not very pot shotable. When you're doing 5s and with your hands down and trying to rock them, messy with it. Super messy. I don't have to say her head movement is elite. There's no doubt about it. But still, there's a time and a place for it. Head movement with your hands down, coming forward. It was almost like a get out of jail card rather than a strategic option. No good. You'd see Marshall almost having to slip and slide rather than get her hand. Marshall was never in a position after the head movement phase to counter punch. And that's why Canelo, Golovkin, them guys, if you're pressure fighting, elbows in, chin down, or even Liam Smith's a great example of that. Elbows in, chin down, and that's your base you work from if you're pressure fighting. Genuinely, up until that fight, I've never seen a pressure fighter with their hands down. And really, I've never seen a pressure fighter with absolutely no... Well, that's a lie. I have seen pressure fighters with no jab. But even at the weekend, we saw Mauricio Lara. Yes, his jab's a bit unconventional, but what do we know about Mauricio Lara? Mauricio Lara was pressing forward and had a big, stiff, single jab. He'd jump into it and pop you right on your chops. That's the basis of pressure fighting, in my opinion. High guard and a stiff jab. If nothing else, that's what you take from pressure fighting, in my opinion. Marshall, no stiff jab. Marshall, no high guard. Sorry, she can implement a high guard, but it wasn't procedural. It wasn't, okay, I'm pressing forward, elbows in, chin down, and get. It wasn't that. It was kind of like, well, I'm slipping and sliding, I'll pick my hand up now. After she'd been hit a few times already. It's just real sloppy. And when you talk about the pinnacle of the game, I'm sorry for me, Peter Fury is gone. And Marshall said here, I'm quite surprised really she said this, but she said, Peter Fury hasn't been my best friend, or me and Peter haven't been on good terms recently. And I have to agree. When you look at the Marshall from previous fights, it's almost like Peter wanted it, or for sure. And that's some people. Marshall choked in the Olympics. Marshall didn't choke back in October, in my opinion. Marshall wanted it too much, and a great. I actually feel not a bit sorry for Peter, because Peter think he know it all, but Peter, I think, wanted it too much as well. They overthought things. Rather than going in there and do what they've been doing well for the last God knows how many years, he thought, oh yeah, let's do something brand spanking new. Let's just wade forward no matter what happens. And that's what happened. I think Marshall would have been better off being told, this is just any other fight, go in there and do what you do. And by Peter Fury's corner work, it appears Peter Fury, bottom line, or Peter Fury, they've been training to absolutely pressure fight in the worst way possible. Do you understand? The worst way possible. I've never seen anything like it, people. I'm sorry. And people, YB, you're a YouTuber. Listen, YouTuber or no YouTuber, show me a fighter in the history of the game who's waded forward with their lead hand down. I've never seen it done before until the other week. Actually, I'll tell you, I think Carl Froch actually. Yeah, Carl Froch was the guy. I think Carl Froch may have, but even look at Carl Froch. Carl Froch was sloppy, wasn't he? Carl Froch was renowned for getting caught. That's just classic. Wading forward with your hands down. Unbelievable. Never seen anything like it. And for someone the size of Marshall said, I mean, look at that for him. Look at the size. Marshall was about a foot taller than this woman. What happened? I tweeted, I said, wait a minute. What happened to the Lennox Lewis, yeah? He almost, well, especially in the last 20, 30 years, Lennox Lewis set the standard for what tall. Lennox Lewis was a tall, heavy punching heavyweight. But he set the standard for what you do when you're tall and you've got for example, Tyson Fury versus Klitschko 1. That is an example of what you do if you've got no power. You know, run around the ring and flicky jab. And that's why you see Huey Fury doing it. Huey Fury ain't got no power. And that's what Savannah Marshall was missing. Peter Fury clearly can only train one way. He doesn't have a clue about pressure fighting, as we found out. He's one-dimensional. He can train you to run around the ring with no power. That's it. He doesn't know how to train Savannah Marshall to her strengths. Look at that size difference. I actually think Marshall could have outboxed her. I said that before the fight. I said, listen, I think Peter Fury would have been better trying to get Marshall to go in there and pull off a Tyson Fury versus Klitschko. When you've got a foot in height, yeah, I'm sorry, Shields should have been the one having to close the distance. But you've got a foot advantage and 20 pounds in weight. Why are you, as the bigger fighter, coming? Look at Lennox Lewis. I mean, Lennox Lewis at times would set his feet, but that's the great optionality you have. As a big, stronger, taller person, you gain optionality. You can at times hold your feet and get a hard combination off, like Lennox Lewis versus Mike Tyson. Early in the fight, Lennox Lewis wanted to make sure Tyson knew, I'm not a whole snack. He held his feet, got his combination off, and back on the jab. Lennox Lewis don't just go in there and start driving forward. Marshall could have been on the back foot, popping a jab, popping a stiff jab, controlling Marshall the whole night. That's what I was expecting. I was expecting a Fury versus Klitschko won. Kind of repeat. Obviously, at that point, the onus would have been on Shields. Let's see how good Shields really is. It's all well and good outboxing women who are small and whatever else. Let's see if you can outbox a big, strong, tall female with a stiff jab in your face. That's what was supposed to happen. We're going to be on the back foot and put this stiff jab in her face. That's what I was tweeting and saying. With your size advantages, that's meant to be I thought that was known in boxing. I thought the whole Lennox Lewis thing was a known standard. At least start there. I know for a fact I tweeted saying, listen, you've got the power and you've got the size. It's all made for you to win this fight. The first 2 rounds, you go out there on the back foot, establish your jab. Is that not boxing 101? I don't know about that. Tall person versus small person. Establish your jab. No? Get used to her speed. We know Shields has got a great jab, so let's get that, you know what I mean, let's get all the ranges, let's get the jab range, let's get the jab battle figured out. And let's get through the first 2 rounds, scoring them, knowing we've touched her to the body with a jab, we're touching her with a jab at will. At which point, once you've got a control with the jab, then you can think about mixing in something heavy on the back end. Nice and simple, not 5 punches. Let's get the jab going and then a big hook on the end. Let's get the jab going and a big uppercut on the end. Let's get the jab going and a feint backhand. That's all, in my opinion, that's where you could have, the kind of power Marshall has, that's all you need to do. In the early rounds, if you've got a stiff jab in Shields' face and a few heavy shots behind her, she's going to be so shook up, she ain't going to know what coming next. Instead, Marshall did all the hard work. Okay, I'm the taller guy, I'm the stronger guy, I'm going to come forward with my hands down. You know what I mean? Who does that? Just literally opened the front door for her. All the hard work was done by Marshall. I'm not sure, genuinely, strategically speaking, I actually don't think, if you tried, if I'm wrong, let me know what you think. How could Marshall have done worse? Let me know what she could have done. I think the only way she could have done worse, is if she'd have dropped her backhand. When Marshall was coming forward, she had a low lead hand and a high back. I think the only way she could have done worse, is if she tried coming forward, just both hands by her waist. That's the only way. Any other way, seriously, I don't think Peter Fury could have done worse than what we saw. It was shocking to witness. There was no variation as well. After the first few rounds, when they saw it wasn't potentially going too well, Peter Fury was in there, hyping her up. Yeah, let's go, let's dig more. What the? As if she needed, the last thing Marshall needed was more aggression, more hyping up. She was too hyper, too antsy, not thinking about her work, just in there raring to go, which is actually great to have. Usually under the lights, it can go one of 2 ways. You're either over-raring, or you're scared and broken, and don't want to get stuck in. When Shields fought Hammer went the other way. Christina Hammer, she got shook and scary, didn't want to exchange. She fought scared. Marshall went the other way, and that's the great thing about this, about working with Savannah Marshall. She has it all to give. She was, you know what I mean, she really was out there getting it how she living. The worst strategy possible, but that's why if she gets the right trainer, in my opinion, it's a wrap for Shields. Shields had her best fight, in my opinion. Shields had her best fight, and it was on a plate for her. And in my opinion, she still didn't win. You understand? The tall fighter had her hands down coming forward, and Shields couldn't even make it definitive. It was close as you like. I think for me, the pressure, that won the fight for me, for Marshall. The fact I've never seen Clarissa Shields pinned on the ropes for 10 rounds, that's what, for me, made the win. I've gone back and watched all of Shields' fights. Shields has never been on the ropes for the whole fight. She was on the ropes for the whole fight. That's a game-setting match for me. That said, Marshall needs to leave Peter Fury. He's one-dimensional. In the clutch moment, this was the clutch moment of Marshall's career, and he choked. He had no diversity. No, where was the B plan? Where was the C plan? In fact, What even was the plan? Go on, tell me, what plan did you see there? I didn't see any plan, apart from bum rush forward and be sloppy with it. That's the only thing I heard. Yeah, let's have a war. It sounded like a Friday night pub cornering from Peter Fury. No intelligent advice. I mean, even when Tyson Fury was fighting Wilder in number 3, after knockdowns, Sugar Hill, get behind your jab. I mean, it's not rocket science. Do you know what I'm saying? Not rocket science. Not once did you hear Peter Fury say, get behind your jab. And again, I don't even think Shields would know what that meant, because Marshall doesn't have a domineering jab like that. It's that flicky crap. Honestly, she needs a new trainer. Simple as that. She needs a new trainer who can teach her how to really get the most out of her power. Who can teach her how to really pressure fight and to teach her. And I think if someone can train Savannah Marshall, to bring her power into the game, i.e. Golovkin style, Canelo style, stiff jab, something heavy behind it, I don't see how no one beats her. I really don't. I mean, all due respect, they weren't beating her before. Do you understand? Even with this weird, we know Peter Fury can't train. He can't train it. He doesn't know how to do it. Does not know how to train power fighters. He knows how to train fighters who nip and tuck and run around the place and fanny, flappy jab. No good. If Savannah Marshall stays with Peter Fury, it'll be more losses for her. I don't think she'll beat Shields, because Peter Fury showed his level. I'm sorry. Well, you find out someone's level in the clutch moments. And in the clutch moments, he choked. And again, if I'm wrong, let me know. I'm genuinely intrigued. Put in the comments below. How could Marshall have done worse, do you think, in this fight? Anyway, Savannah Marshall needs to leave Peter Fury. Who's the best trainer to go with? I know it sounds cliche by that point. I wouldn't even mind I don't rate Shane McGuigan as much as I did, but I wouldn't mind a Shane McGuigan. I wouldn't mind a Sugar Hill. I wouldn't even mind a Tunde for what it's worth. Any one of the top guys I wouldn't mind seeing. I wouldn't. Not Peter Fury's out of here for me. Get him out of here. Yeah? That flicky jab, I don't want to see that. I don't want to see Marshall, unless she's fainting. Don't get me wrong, that fainting, that's good. That herky-jerky is definitely good, but that shouldn't be the only way you jab. The only way Marshall jabs, the only way Peter Fury jabs, the only way Tyson Fury jabbed up until recently. Don't forget that, people. Up until Fury got with Sugar Hill was the first guy to teach him how to pole drive his jab. Now Fury does have a bit more. Now Fury does know how to feint his jab, flick his jab, and drive his jab. You've got to have the variety. Huey Fury doesn't. You never see Huey Fury drive a jab. Huey Fury flap. If it's the same every time, no good. And that's what Shields did do well. Shields read, okay, the minute she puts that hand out, I know there's nothing serious there, so I can punch with it. The minute I see her put her lead hand out to jab, I'm just going to punch with her. And that's why every time watch Marshall do that. I mean, tell me if I'm wrong. Show me one proper jab from Marshall. I didn't see one all night. Shocking. And Peter Fury didn't pick it up on it in the corner. She's timing you lazy. I mean, that's the classic, isn't it? The classic is timing someone's lazy jab. Well, Marshall has the definition of a lazy jab. And what happened? Every time. That's the ones. Those are the most kind of damaging shots, or the most influential shots. Marshall, you see this big woman stepping in with a weak jab, and then Shields is out there popping you in the mouth with the right hand. Time and time again. There was also no second phase for Marshall, in as much as, okay there, a minute. I know Shields is enjoying countering my lazy jab. How about I feint a lazy jab, get ready for the right hand, and do some pull countering or do some catch countering, knowing that, if you get what I'm saying. I'm going to step in with 2 lazy jabs, get ready for a right hand, parry it and do some moment. There was no second phase for Marshall. Marshall's second phase was slip and slide and just try and recover. But it looked bad because at that point, Shields clocked on that Marshall had no second phase and would just keep swarming her, knowing there's nothing going back. I don't think I ever saw Marshall counterpunch once. I just don't think there was. I don't think Marshall counterpunched once the whole night. And you're the big, strong, tall. How can a big, strong female not be counterpunching? That's supposed to be your game. Sit on the back foot, pop her in the mouth with a jab, let her do the work, let her overcommit, and then I'm going to punish her for it. Let her stretch out with the right hand, and I'm going to catch her with a left hook. That's the beauty you have of being that big. Didn't use a lick of it. Leave Peter Fury ASAP. If you don't, career's over. You'll keep losing to Shields some more. If she does move, I said it before, but I really do believe Marshall can stop Shields. I do believe it. Trained in the right way, she can stop her, in my opinion. I don't rate all this hype around Shields is massively overblown. Anyway, Peter Fury, get him out of here. Yeah, I didn't like Peter Fury's reaction to the fight. Immediately after, oh yeah, we lost, and it was all a bit cringy. And after the fight, he was also saying, oh no, I wouldn't make any changes. It's done now, and no, I'll stick by it. A guy like that, yeah, is too much in ego. No, there's nothing to change. What? That was the most pathetic fight we've all ever watched. Do you know what I'm saying? It was shocking. Anyway, let me know your thoughts. Smash the like button, subscribe. Leg off to put 100%.